Inklings have always been the sort of centerpiece of Splatoon, yet something has always somewhat bugged me. The Splatoon series has never really settled on what an Inkling is. They've been referred to as a race, a species, or even just a breed of squid. And while those aren't entirely mutually exclusive words, they could imply vastly different things depending on how we take them. In taxonomy, the word species is about as specific as you can classify an animal. However, I don't believe this to be the case, because unless you're a taxonomist, most people use the word species as a general way of referring to some kind of animal. Octarians are often listed as a species, yet many of their specimens appear vastly different from each other, which makes the characters that they don't include in this terminology much more complexing to me. Exhibit A, Orion. The basis for the in-universe band Chirpy Chips, while most other octopus-inspired characters are simply given the distinction of octopus, Orion is frequently referred to as a Japanese flapjack octopus. This distinction has led people to exclude Orion from the terms Octarian or Octoling, which are terms often used to identify other octopus characters. Exhibit B. Riley. I saw a video by Rassicas where they said that
Dion as a proper name in kanji is written like this. Normally this kanji is pronounced like Hari, and a Harika is the name for the golden cuttlefish.
So, I thought that this would imply that Riley is a cuttlefish, but despite her rather oval-shaped appearance, she has only ever been referred to as a squid, or Ika in Japanese. Exhibit C, Cuttlefish. For this one, we'll have to look at characters not technically found in the game. You see, in Octo Expansion's art book, Haikara Walker, concept art for the objects that float around the stages shows these two, a idol group consisting of 2 golden cuttlefishes. They get cropped out of their own artwork in the final game, but these two are the only instance of the Splatoon series actually confirming a character to be a cuttlefish. Which kind of brings me to the question, where have cuttlefish been all this time? Pretty much every other cephalopod has made it into the game at this point. Squids, octopuses, even nautiluses have their own character in game. These two couldn't even get a whole PNG. It would be a bit odd if they were forced out of Inkling society like the Octarians were. I mean, they practically look identical to Inklings. But if they practically look identical, what distinctifies them from Inklings? It is too cold in this room. Come on, sleeve. So, taxonomy has about 8 main categories: domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. All of which are increasingly more specific than the other. For now, all you need to know is that orders contain families, families contain genus, and genus contains species. As I mentioned before, most people won't think of squids in the taxonomy way. They'll probably think whatever has the word squid in it is a squid. Yet, this isn't always the case. For example, the vampire squid has the word squid in it, not a squid. In fact, it's closer to an octopus than any squid species. Although even then, the vampire squid belongs to its own separate order outside of octopuses. Although this isn't to say that vampire squids are the fabled 5th category of cephalopod. All octopuses and vampire squids belong to the superorder Octopodiformes, which contain all soft-bodied 8-limbed cephalopods. All of our 10-limbed soft-bodied cephalopod friends belong to the Decapodiformes superorder, which includes squids, cuttlefishes, and the ram's horn squid. We'll get to you. Now, this next part may sound a little bit confusing, but the common name for Decapodiformes is squid. By definition, the word squid just means any 10-limbed cephalopod. This is not to say that all squids are cuttlefish, but all cuttlefish are squids. Even the word for squid in Japanese, ika, can also include cuttlefish. Now, while we don't have any direct confirmation that all inklings are made up of all Decapodiformes, I have found multiple inklings that exhibit traits of different Decapodiformes. Baker, the bassist of Seaside, gets his name from beca, the Japanese name of the beca squid, a squid that is part of the Myopsida order. When taken out of water, beca squids have this sort of gray coloration, like what Baker has. And Pearl gets her Japanese name, Himi, from Himiika, the Japanese name for the northern pygmy squid, which is one of the smallest squids in the world. Which, it's pretty fitting. Now, Decapodiformes have two other orders that I find worth mentioning: Sepida and Spirulida. Sepida being the order that all cuttlefish are classified. You see, I believe that inklings are also evolved cuttlefish. As I alluded to earlier, the cuttlefish idol's outward forms are not that dissimilar from the standard inkling. They've got the connected eye masks, square fingers, sharp ears. The only difference that I've seen people mention is that this one has wavy hair, and wavy mantles are often associated with cuttlefish. But I mean, wavy hair has been a staple of the series since the second game. Not to mention that the one on the right doesn't have wavy hair at all. Now, all of this might sound a little bit far-fetched, but it's worth noting that Splatoon already applies similar logic to some of its other species. Exhibit something or other. Steelheads. Steelheads are categorized as boss salmon, a subcategory of Splatoon's species, Salmonid. What's notable about this one is its exterior. Unlike other Salmonid, this one doesn't use armor to protect itself. Instead, it uses its hard scales to deflect any non-piercing attacks. Scales that are similar to the rainbow trout, or more specifically its anadromous cousin, the steelhead trout. Now obviously trouts are not salmon, but they are a part of Salmonidae, the family that all trouts and salmon belong to, and also where Splatoon gets the word salmonid from. So even though the steelhead's etymology isn't a part of any particular salmon species, Splatoon still puts them in the same group as those who are. Just like, how it is in real life. Remember Spirulida, the other non-squid order that I mentioned earlier? While primarily housing families that have gone extinct, there is one species that is still alive. Tucked away in this order is the ram's horn squid, which, despite its name, is neither squid nor cuttlefish. Keep hitting this and it makes sound and it's pissing me off. You see, the main distinction between squids and cuttlefish is their bones. You see, a squid has a glandus, which is like this little brittle strip of bone that's inside their head, while a cuttlefish has a more oval-like cuttle bone, which is like a squid's glandus except more robust and dense. The ram's horn squid has neither of these. You see, a ram's horn squid has a ram's horn shell, which isn't exactly like what a squid has, and it's not exactly what a cuttlefish has, leaving scientists to just put it in its own order away from the other Decapodiformes. Uncoincidentally enough, there is actually a Splatoon character based on the ram's horn squid. Now, technically, we don't have any confirmation that they're an inkling, but if it looks like an inkling, if it has the same features as an inkling, then it's probably an inkling. And while we're on the topic, remember how earlier I thought it was strange that Riley wasn't a cuttlefish even though she looks like that? Well, in Hi Carl Walker, the book where we get most of our information about the bands of Splatoon, the specific word that they use to describe each character's designation is tribe. Now, tribe is a word in taxonomy. It exists between families and genera, but that's not necessarily how Hi Carl Walker uses it. In Japanese, the English word tribe is used to generally describe anywhere from families to species. A good example of this is on Ink Theory's page, where uni, a sea urchin, is described as this word that I don't know how to say, while Kitamura is simply called a sea urchin. That being said, Riley's tribe is listed as Ika, a word that in English often just gets translated as squid. But as I've said before, Ika can mean both squid and cuttlefish. You can even see it in names that we've discussed before. Beca, Hari Ika, Togoroko Ika. I mean, if the language that the game was made in doesn't even draw a line between squids and cuttlefish, then it doesn't seem that crazy to think that inklings can also be cuttlefish. I mean, even by definition, squid just means any 10-limbed cephalopod, so I guess this isn't really a thing that's lost in localization either. Although there is one more trait about inklings that irks me. It glows faintly and isn't that visible in-game, but all inklings, old and new, emit a sort of bioluminescence underneath their tentacles. I mention this because, unlike the ability to change color, bioluminescence is not a trait shared amongst all Decapodiformes. It's not even shared across all types of squid. Notably, only a few species can emit bioluminescence, such as the firefly squid or the Hawaiian bobtail squid, which implies one of two things. Number one, all player and idle inklings are the same species of squid, or number two, and the outcome that I think is more likely, while in the process of rapid evolution, squids and cuttlefish went through a sort of despeciation. For the uninitiated, despeciation is when two previously distinct animals have combined into one. An example of why I think this applies to inklings can be found in the three-spined sticklebacks, where what previously made the two species different had started to become a hindrance to their survival. So it was more ethical for them to go back in evolution than to continue forward. We actually learn how the sea creatures of Splatoon evolved through the Alternalogs from Splatoon 3. You see, in Splatoon, about 10,000 years ago, a select few sea creatures were infused with a human desire, a desire to walk on land. Very quickly, they managed to withstand the fresh air, and like the hominids before them, they began interacting with others and happened to spread this desire across the world. It could have been that certain squid traits weren't exactly desirable now that they could walk on land. Things like pearlescent skin or see-through bodies might have deterred their survival, so it was more beneficial for them to assimilate than differentiate. It is, however, important to note that not all squids took this path. Martin is a glass squid that, unlike other inklings, more closely resembles the ancient ancestors than the modern inkling, which could imply that it was around this point that squids started to either converge or diverge into inklings. Most of this might entirely be speculation, but there is some evidence of multi-species mixing in Splatoon, just not with inklings. In a recently translated Nintendo Dream interview from 2017, Splatoon director Inoi was asked about the sea slug shopkeeper, Flo. Quote, "What kind of sea slug is Flo based on?" To which Inoi responded, "Her coloration is based on what's called a Cinderella sea slug. Traits from various other species of nudibranches were incorporated into her design." The other type of nudibranch that Inoi is referring to is the warty sea slug, which inspired Flo's eye pattern. So, whether intentional or not, there are Splatoon characters who have mixed traits with other similar species. And I mean, most of the differences that we've described between inklings can be more or less summed up as ethnic rather than specific. Yes, some have wavy hair, some have straight hair, some have angular pupils, some have circular pupils. Some of them are gray, some of them are blue. But I mean, at the end of the day, even though they might have originated from different places, there aren't any distinctions that I could find that would separate them to the degree of being different species.